Our group will present propaganda model in health communication during pandemic. I am Zanida Aida binti Rabu and introducing another group member, Logeswari, Puvaneswari, and Nurul Nuha. For the abstract, study has been conducted on the propaganda model to understand better about the founder of the model, the element in the propaganda, how is it implemented in daily life and widely in various fields which happen internationally. The study also explained that propaganda is required in order to control things and situations that happen around us, including how the government applies it to control the pandemic. The propaganda model is also formulated and reviewed based on opinions and conclusions in various research available on the website. It is important to know the application of propaganda in handling every situation, and the studies might bring us the idea of strategic communication in using the propaganda method.
According to Edward S. Herman and Noam Chomsky in their manufacturing content book, propaganda model introduced as her conceptual model in political economy, and it contained with 5 filters such as size, ownership and profit orientations of mass media, funding, source, flags and anti-communist. This propaganda model role an important health communication during this pandemic. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention preventing COVID-19 were reinforced among people through important advertisements on frequently used social media platforms. For example, Facebook, Instagram, and television media posted the importance of social distancing and stay at home throughout free course, widespread, and others. At the same time, according to World Health Organization, it involves the organizer of responders, proper health information system, and managing communication risks. Unlike publicly funded outlets, state media need additional independence from government bodies and institutions. At the same time, the public health communication become a vital role in any national government's responses and get the right message to the right people at the right time.
Propaganda campaigns has made many persons suppose that propaganda is something new and modern. Nobody would make the mistake of assuming that it is new if, from early times, efforts to mobilize attitudes and opinions had actually been called propaganda. The Greeks who made up the citizen class were conscious of their interests as a group and were conscious on the problems and affairs to the city-state to which they belong. The masses of the people lived under despotism, and there were no channels or method for them to use in formulating. They had games, theatre, assembly, law courts and religious festivals, and this gave opportunity for propagandizing ideas and beliefs. From that time forward, in the day of the Philip II of Spain and Queen Elizabeth of England organized propaganda in a quiet modern way. In World War I, it dramatized the power and triumphs of propaganda, and both fascism and communism in the post-war years were the center of intense revolutionary propaganda. From this, Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky first proposed their propaganda model of media operation in manufacturing concern, the political economy of mass media in 1988. How Herman and Chomsky related the theory. According to Herman and Chomsky, media operate through 5 filters. First, size, ownership and profit. Second, advertising. Third, sourcing of mass media news. Fourth, flag. And fifth, ideology of anti-communism. The first huge way. It cannot be denied that Hitler had the great power and control over Germany in 1930s. This power was achieved and maintained by a large propaganda campaigns throughout Germany. Hitler used propaganda as he knew it was one of his greatest assets. He was an outstanding public speaker and tactfully chose many resources such as aircraft, films, and even loudspeaker from trucks.
Meine Arbeit für richtig hältst. Ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt eine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingesetzt bin.
Hitler employed people to assist this effort, including Joseph Goebbels as a minister for propaganda and Leni Riefenstahl as a producer of Nazi propaganda movies. This effort in the use of propaganda greatly contributed to the success of the Nazi Party in 1930s. Moreover, Hitler used a wide range of organization or other aspects of society to ensure that all possible effort in propaganda were achieved. Education was a major factor of this. Hitler set up many youth organizations to yet again promote Nazi beliefs and values. Hitler and Nazi Party used propaganda in a very huge way. Their use strong affected their popularity throughout the 1930s. Through various propaganda techniques, Hitler eventually established a totalitarian dictatorship, fulfilling a role of absolute power.
This is the time of year when the boys of the fatherland become state servants, because the state regards physical training as their number one duty. And in camp, they live by numbers. On the word, splash. And in the other part of this camp in East Prussia, the girls live under almost exactly the same conditions as the boys. And apparently peeling potatoes is just part of their physical training.
Hitler
The elements in propaganda is control the media. In any propaganda to survive and flourish, media needs to be controlled. This applies specifically in the case of war, as we can see by the controlled media. Journalists rely heavily on the army or for their food, shelter, and protection, and this is a good opportunity for the propagandist country to get their message across. Thus, by controlling the flow of information, the desired objective can be achieved. And the next point is emotional appeal. The propaganda generally has a human face. It has an emotional appeal to take off gain public support. For example, Kevin Maloney in his book Rethinking Public Relations mentioned that Hill and Knowlton were shown to be involved in false stories about Iraqi troops removing 312 babies from incubators in Kuwait in October 1990. Just before US involvement in the Gulf War, the propaganda behind could have been look at the enemy's bad honesty and thus appeal to the hearts and minds of people to gain their support and trust. And keep of certain issues and imagery is also the elements in propaganda. The aim is to divert attention from troublesome issues and reveal only partial facts. Imagery is a very important element of propaganda, especially when language can be a barrier. Image and pictures provide a realistic proof to propaganda, and the impact of such messages is usually quite big. From here, postage were used to convey strong and a bold message to public around the world. And last but not least, legitimacy is the elements of propaganda. As example, the war propaganda and the media war says those who promote the negative image of the enemy may often reinforce it with rhetoric about the writers of themselves, which they attempt to master up, sport, and nurture it. The Herman and Noam Chomsky explained how propaganda and systemic bias function in corporate mass media. In their theory book of manufacturing concern, Herman and Chomsky says a propaganda model focuses on this inequality on wealth and power and in its multi-level effects of media enter the advertising license to the business in relating for the benefits on the free market as a means of controlling dissident opinions and choices. And the next point is anti-communism. It refers to political movement and ideology opposed to communism. It has been powerful resources to and the social media, the media are thrown into a symbiotic relationship with powerful sources of information by economic necessity and interest. And the flex, the point of this, it refers to negative responses to a media statement or program. It may take the form of letters, telegram, phone, and many else. And how propaganda implemented in Malaysia, the persuasive words and propaganda techniques lies in between its persuasive language in the news report have dragged the government bodies, particularly Police Diraja Malaysia, into a negative perception consists of our elements which are research framework, research design, research sampling, and the research procedure by the public. And we can see that and the Pakatan Harapan government didn't do as much as they should have, but disbanding JASA was a huge plus. It was huge happened propaganda between the Special Affairs Department, which are JASA, and the Pakatan Harapan government. And the lastly is how use propaganda in way highlighting COVID-19. The coronavirus COVID-19 is leaving devastated healthcare system, economies and societies in its wake. It is a global crisis that presents particularly unique challenge for democracies. And the next point is social media. It can be seen that the explore social media outlets such as Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, blogs, online newspaper, and YouTube where the concern about the pandemic are most pronounced. And lastly is conspiracies government. The conspiracies regarding government surveillance via microchips in vaccines and truth contact tracers are ongoing. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Conclusion. As a conclusion, the propaganda model plays a crucial role in health communication during this pandemic. The mass media plays a huge role in circulating information, influences public behavior, and can reduce the spread of disease. In this research, we purposely to explain our understanding about the definition, founder, theory development, and role of the propaganda model theory.